is real.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with reality, man.
Erase it in post.
All right, so you are listening to NYC Radio Live. What an exciting thing. We're in a secure, undisclosed location with none other than Yuka Honda and Nels Cline. And they've got an all-star event coming up. Super exciting. Way up in Bearsville Theater. I know that John Medeski is part of the scene. Sean Ono Lennon is part of the band. And, well, yeah, well, maybe we'll tell the lineup and then you can tell what it's all about.
Okay, so hi, this is Yuka Honda, and this show is held as a benefit for Starroot Farm in Charlottesville, New York. And the organization Catskills Agrarian Alliance. This is a very difficult word for a Japanese person to say. Really difficult. Anyway, Starwood Farm is the farm that I've been having an honor to get to observe this artist who turned to farmers making beautiful, beautiful vegetables in the most laborious way because they want to put their heart in it and they want to make the best vegetables because they are also cooks and they want to eat the most. They want to feel this amazing feeling that when you eat the vegetable that was made with true care and no chemical and with a lot of love. And they've been having a difficult time. Like a lot of people, federal funding got pulled, and it's just as it is very difficult to be farmers because it's just physically so tasking. But we really need them, and I hope that we can support them with this concert. Is this small thing that we put together that just to tell them thank you and also hope to help them just a little bit by raising some fund. And thanks to my great husband, Nels Cline, we were able to put this band together with John Medeski, Billy Martin. John and Billy are very, very old friend of mine. They're 900 years old. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've been friends with them since the 90s. We used to be neighbors living in East Village, and I've known them since a long time, and they were really gracious to agree to do this benefit show. Also, Scott Metzger, who is a fantastic musician, is now a part of this team, and Sean Ono Lennon, who also I've known since mid-90s, and he was we were in the band together in 90s, and he's an incredible musician also, and we are neighbors in upstate New York, and we are coming together to put this show at Bearsville Theater, which is a very, very nice, warm, beautiful theater, and people there were also cooperating to put this thing together. So please come, it's in November. Maybe cut that part out, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll put all the dates in there, but I guess it's November
20th.
20th, yeah.
Super exciting, yeah. So I'm here with Hungry Mari, who's like introduced me to the world of food. I actually thought that chickpeas grew in cans. I really didn't know anything when I met her. And so what was your early relationship with food?
My early relationship with food was a joy that had when I was a child. My family moved to Germany, and until we moved to Germany, I was surrounded by, my mother had sisters, a bunch of sisters. I was surrounded by a lot of family members, and I think I was never lonely. I had people to play with me, and I don't remember much about this time, probably because I was happy. But when we moved to Germany, there was no other Japanese people in town, and my parents were also alone, so we were pretty isolated. And I experienced a lot of loneliness. And at that time, I think what really gave me a lot of pleasure was, one, reading books, because I wasn't able to really make friends. So books from my friends, and food was direct joy. And my mother was fortunately a great cook. So these are the moments that I really felt some kind of confirmation about life and why I'm here, and going through this. And so I look forward to food every day very much. And I think my mother wasn't an artist in a way that we think what artists, like a painter or a musician, stuff like that. But my mother's art was really in food, and she really made amazing food that I'm still trying to emulate and not being able to achieve. She had this keen sense of flavor, and also was able to construct things in a very imaginary way. She invented a lot of dishes out of imagination, and also was able to imitate the food that we ate at the restaurant. That was so good, and I was so impressed by her. So this food as an art is kind of one of the biggest inspiration for me, as it inspired my music. It's hard to describe it because it's in different format, but the way that she built things architecturally and expressed it, I think I learned something from it.
Yeah, that's so interesting that we last ran into each other at the Ragas Live Festival, and I had interviewed the last performer. I don't think you were still there, but maybe you heard it. But Shahid Parvez was master. Yes. Okay, so you saw that, one of the great sitarists on the planet, and he's really passionate about food. And so we started talking, and he was saying, comparing food to a raga, and if you have, I kept saying, and if you add the wrong spice, then the raga is gone, this kind of thing. And he said, I will tell you something, Yeah, and he said, what if you take out an ingredient? You keep saying add, but what about taking out? And, it was one of these moments. So, yeah.
Master.
Right.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
I remember actually listening to Zakir Hussain interview that he was asked about collaborators, and he was talking about, I just collaborated with this big name person, but we just got together and just played music, and then they left. And when I play with Herbie Hancock or something, we don't just play music together, but also we go out to eat, and then we talk about what to eat while we're rehearsing, and we imagine what we're going to eat, and then we're going to eat, and then we talk about this food, and there's a serious relationship that happens that really affect the musical relationship, he said.
Yeah. Nels, have you heard, because I was listening, I've been doing a little back study, and I heard those amazing tracks you did with Tanarwin, and then more recently, I guess there's something that's just freshly coming out with Moroccan musicians. Have you heard people say that in order to play the music, you have to eat the food of the culture? Has that come across?
I actually no.
No? Okay.
But it's just probably because no one has said it to me, because it obviously has a considerable amount of import. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a very good strategy, actually. And but I'm not really all that adventurous in terms of eating. There are certain things that I probably really don't want to engage with, especially maybe in China or. I don't know. I've never been to the continent of Africa at all. So I've had versions in the United States or in Europe of that food. So I don't know if it's viable, But there's obviously a connection there's just a connection.
Yeah.
There's just the idea of an Indian classical music concert and that's going to be very, very long. The permission culturally to take a break and go eat something, it's very important, and it should be good because you're, listening to beautiful music for a very good reason. Why not just go full circle and have the entire culinary experience be at least reflecting of that or somehow commensurate, and yeah, I'm getting hungry for curry right now talking about this.
Yeah, actually now I'm remembering it was Randy Weston who told me that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And now, just as I'm saying, I'm thinking he had albums called African Cookbook.
Yep.
And he started off as a chef in the Berkshires before he was even known as a musician. He was.
I never knew this. Wow, that's amazing.
It's really interesting because it's just concept, right? So I was in Thailand and I was taken to Cambodian restaurant and the menu would have like eyeballs of ants, and I'm just wondering. Yeah, like first of all, how do you find eyeballs from ants? But also, I was just challenged because I always think like we have to try everything and we shouldn't judge things without trying, and it's just concept. So, I eat entire carrots, and why can't I eat eyeballs of ants? And it was really interesting challenge that I faced.
And eyeball sounds like some kind of interesting caviar to me, but like micro caviar, like the tiniest
crunchy
little black dot.
Yeah.
You have to be good at your chopsticks.
Yeah, well, or you just sprinkle them on liberally.
Yeah. Well, maybe eat it with spoon, like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when I actually first heard Tinariwen, the musician named Kiran Aluwalia was invited to play the festival Au Désert in Timbuktu, and she was going to not go because the CIA or the State Department was telling Americans not to go. So I was like, I'll go with you. That's my decision making. But anyway, we went, and I went and I saw Dimi Mint Abba's daughter, who maybe you know Dimi Mint Abba, but anyway, Noor Mint Semali. It's like the same kind of Mauritanian music actually, and I interviewed her like we're talking, and then someone showed up with like a garbage bag and just like full goat that was like black and had flies all over it. And I kind of joked. I was like, "Oh, did someone bring takeout?" But that actually was what it was. And they just stood it up in between, and they just you just took right off the goat, and its legs kept splaying. As an American, grown, right. with everything wrapped in plastic. That was a
super sanitized
challenge. Yeah. I was trying to like rip off like a new fresh part. I was like thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you put it on styrofoam?
Yeah.
this fly laden piece looks less attractive.
Exactly.
Whoa. Yeah. So I'm not too goat familiar, but I'm not. I don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm not really a heavy, just kind of red meat kind of guy. So.
Yeah.
But obviously, all these things can be prepared in wondrous ways.
So I guess you're more experimental as a musician.
I mean, I'm pretty wide open about certain things, but I think at this age, I also have health issues I need to consider, and so I have to eat heart smart, sensibly on a certain level. But
then there's natto.
See,
natto is supposed to be great for your heart.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I can't eat it. I just can't stand it. But I really wish I loved it the way my beautiful wife does, and has it every morning when possible with her breakfast concoction, which is quite a fascinating breakfast concoction, I have to say. But just don't eat the buried shark in Iceland. I think that's where I already know you've tasted.
I
know
have tasted
Sean
it.
has also, and I can just look at it and say no. So I'm not that adventurous, and apparently it's really horrible. So
Actually, but also Japan has there's an island south of Tokyo, and they also make this really stinky fish. It's called ksaya, and it's really
Ksaya?
it's called ksaya, which means
Which
like
means stinky.
stinky. Yeah, and it's really famous. And when you go to this island, everywhere smells of this fish. Like you can't escape. And supposedly it's one of these things that you just go, oh, at the beginning, but when you eat it, maybe after the second time or third time, you get converted, and then the smell becomes like really delightful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading even like in antiquity around the Mediterranean, there were certain, I think they called it gorum, but it was the like rotting fish that became like the fish sauce of like, essential ingredient. But the places that manufactured it were famously, smelled horribly. Even thousands of years ago, this was an issue, but irresistible to eat, I suppose.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it.
Did you ever read the book Heat by Bill Buford?
No.
Okay, this is more about the origins of pasta. He becomes obsessed with the apprentices himself to Mario Batali at Babbo, and then he starts tracing the origins of pasta. And when did semolina come into when did egg come into the picture? And then apprentices himself to a Tuscan butcher who's very famous for having quotes from Dante all over his butcher shop, and opera that he sings along with. And he's in actually an episode of, it's either Chef's Table or one of those shows. This guy, the Tuscan butcher fellow. And you just get this really incredible window into really medieval meat techniques in this book, and they are gross.
They're hanging like stuff in the bladder.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In basements for ages, and it's and it's just completely
Bladder filled
decaying.
with some guts or something. And
Wow.
they
That's a
dry it
great
for
book.
2 months or something.
Oh,
So you have to
man.
deal
It's
with the smell
nasty.
for 2 months.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Like, would definitely not pass FDA
Right.
regulations,
party
because here
poopers,
everything in the
yeah.
United States, everything is
But
super sanitized.
it's probably the microorganism that grows is what probably makes it yummy.
Well, it's
Or,
You
or
know?
healthy.
Yeah.
or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very vividly described in this book, and I really highly recommend the book, even though
Okay.
our man Mario is sort of off the scene now. But yeah.
Yeah, the Salt book by Mark Kurlansky is another really good one.
Okay.
And he talks, it's the history of salt, which is unbelievable, actually.
Yeah, I want to read
from
that.
salt wars to being paid in salt. Salary is from the word salt because they pay the soldiers in salt.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of things. But one really interesting fact was that the prosciutto di Parma is so good because the pigs are fed the whey from the Parmesan cheese. So they're eating, that's their diet.
Right.
So
Wow.
you're getting like what you can't eat anymore, basically.
Right, pretty much like all kinds of incredible cholesterol.
Yeah.
Tasty,
I mean,
tasty, super savory cholesterol bombs.
yeah.
That's protein, right? Whey's
Yeah,
protein. So
yes.
they must have
protein
like
is good.
really...
Yeah.
I'll take the protein.
Yeah. Hardy pigs. Well, this really should have been, I don't know, Hungry Mari. This is so your category. You have anything to... This turned into a Hungry Mari episode, actually.
I love that your name is Hungry Mari,
Oh, thank you.
because I am a Hungry Yuka.
Hungry sister.
Totally.
No, when I met Nels, he was just so impressed with how much I can eat, and also how often I'm thinking about food when I'm not eating, and also how I'm thinking about other food when I'm eating.
It's a very attractive quality. The super weird, neurotic bird-like woman eater thing. That's not super appealing. It's a kind of syndrome, I guess, and a bit of a cliche, but not as attractive as the like just the enjoyment factor, let alone just eating. Like watching Yuka enjoy something is really cool.
Oh, wow. So I have to go to a restaurant or whatever
Yes,
together to see you.
we have to eat together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's make
All
that
right.
happen.
Mari has just her enjoyment of food has impressed people so much, professional chefs, that they just feed her because of, it's like having a great listener or something like that. Someone who's, it's like, wow. But yeah, there's restaurants that'll just, they just feed Mari because she's so focused on the thing, and then she'll say, oh, they used a little bit of whatever, rose water or something. And, I'm busy.
Scarfing.
She's noticing a note of this or, yeah.
But that is definitely like a good listener. That's what, if somebody makes food and then someone can taste and appreciate it, taste it really, and then appreciate it after tasting it really. That's high praise and fun. Like, who doesn't like that? It's like smiles all around.
Yeah, it's the communication, right? It's like...
Yeah.
And interesting, right? I mean, I'm kind of like zooming out and thinking everything living has to eat, right? I mean, moss is busy eating, and amoebas are busy eating, and
So true.
It's such an intimate affair to like give food, and they like put it in their mouth. They put it inside of their body. The food that you give, they trust. There's a trust, and then they incorporate it in their body, and it becomes a part of them. And it's an amazing way to like communicate and connect with people.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
No, just looking at your T-shirt, and izakaya is one of my favorite ways to eat.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me hungry looking at your shirt.
Well, this shirt has an interesting story because Mari came from Japan with her cat, and her cat is from Ito, which is a hot spring area. And we went back to Ito to visit the people who had rescued the cat. And we were given a hero's welcome. We stayed there for 3 days. We never paid for a single meal. And we were introduced to every stranger walking by. These people are from New York, And we went to this restaurant and had one of the greatest meals of our lives. I mean, chef was improvising. We sat in the chef's, in the kitchen, basically, right outside the kitchen. He just went, I don't know, 12, 13 courses, just keep, and we were really moved to tears, actually. I mean, it was just, it was unbelievable.
We totally believe you, because I think my favorite restaurant in the entire world is this izakaya in Chigasaki.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this while it was being discussed.
Right?
Yeah.
And we love it so much that we did wedding reception there. And I think we're the only people who did wedding reception there, because it's really like fishermen's, like a super local place. And in Japanese like food network, like social media, it's like not rated most highly. I don't know why. But to me, after, I must say, I have traveled all over the world and have gone to many great restaurants, and find this izakaya to be one of the greatest places, because one, the amount of the menu item that I have is massive, and everything is so fresh and well prepared. They don't just have like sashimi and yakitori that are best. They also, it's really a local Japanese restaurant, but they have like avocado and grapefruit jelly with like arugula salad, like kind of like super fancy, like mozzarella something, and somebody is like super creative in the kitchen. So for a while I used to dream to just quit everything here and become an apprentice there and just learn how they make this like 400 dishes, all of them so good. But anyway, I really believe in izakaya dining. I think it's really one of the fantastic way to eat, because you can go and you don't have to set in like 2 dishes. You can just order whatever you want, however much you want, and you can feel free and just eat like 5 meat dishes today, or eat really light today, or mix it up, or try something completely new because your friends ordered it. And
or in my case also you can drink the whole time. It's just,
and you can
which is one of the greatest things about izakaya or just most Japanese meals. But yeah, start with beer.
Start with beer. I actually don't drink anymore, but I do. If I would drink, I would drink Japanese izakaya because they have shochu with lots of soda and grapefruit. I really love that. It feels healthy.
Refreshing.
Yeah,
sure.
or shochu with hot water. It's very nice.
So the other interesting thing I learned this week, actually, speaking to AI, but so it turns out that humans' brains, or the proto-humans, I guess, Cro-Magnons and those various Neanderthals and stuff, the brains were like something like 40% of what they were now. But they discovered fire. And then after they discovered fire, of course, they discovered cooking, which meant you could metabolize food outside your body, which gave you more space. You didn't have to use all that energy to process raw foods. And the brains got up to the size that they are now, which they think is a direct result. So this cooking business isn't like a great quality of being human. It's actually like what made us human.
Exactly. I also read that because we cook food, so it used to be we needed more real estate for our jaws because we needed to chew everything, and we were eating raw food, so we really needed to have like massive jaws, and which took a lot of space in your skull. Now the size of your head is determined because we come out from our mother. And so the head size is decided by your mother's birth canal, the size of birth canal. So the head size is determined, and so jaw used to take over a lot of your head real estate. But since cooking, they are able to shrink, and now that's why we also are able to have bigger brains since then.
It's a very happy evolutionary story.
One that took tens of thousands of years, or
Yeah.
hundreds of
Yeah, right.
thousands, or millions. Yeah, and I guess that's why in movies, the bad guy, if you're watching like a Marvel movie, the bad guy might have like a huge jaw and a square head, probably on some level we're like thinking like, oh, those are the ancient humans that
They need to be.
Well, anyway, I'm sure right now there are listeners just outraged that I haven't asked anything about music.
Oh, whoops.
It's like, it's like interviewing Paul McCartney and not bringing up the Beatles or something like that. It'd be very silly. So I guess we can jump into some of the music stuff. But really, like, so a lot of your stuff is a producer, right? You take how do you think about, like, if someone says, oh, what's a producer? Like, what's a producer doing?
It's really difficult because I think it's also different per producer. Everybody works it a little bit differently, but I see it as so in my own project I see myself as a composer and a performer, an engineer, and also a producer. So in that case I am kind of like organizing everything, and maybe composer me want to do this experimental thing with this idea, but maybe engineering me thinks that's a little bit silly, like maybe we should do it a little bit this way, and then I kind of like put them together and go like, you guys, let's just talk this over again. This is just me doing this crazy thing by myself. And producer me would like to think of everything a little bit more in total manner, and how to present it. If this idea can be presentable, is producer me would think about it. When am I performing this? Is it related to this event? Or that kind of thing is what producer me would think about, and then organize it together. And composer me is just basically very on the whim. I don't know when she wants to work, and I don't know when she can write, or when she needs a break. I'm kind of slave to her. So producer me is just kind of like, okay, come on, composer Yuka, like, let's do this. And then sometimes composer me is like, yeah, I have a lot of ideas, and do a lot of things in one day. And then the other part of me kind of have to organize this, and like, oh my God, she did so much in one day. Like, how am I going to put this down?
Wow, how do you get everybody on the same page?
It's a little bit of lots of improvisation. It's basically like a kindergarten vibe, or like wild animal vibes, and everything running to many directions, and so try to kind of like, or sometimes just ignore them, and they kind of put it together by themselves.
Different strategies. So, Nels, you have the same kind of, I don't want to say various archetypes kind of competing in your own musical or artistic life?
Not really. I mean, I don't think of myself as a producer, for example, but I have produced many a recording, but I don't think I'm a particularly good producer. I've gone back and realized that there are pieces on these records that really didn't need to be there. So self-editing is not my strength. And sometimes a producer can be instrumental in assisting one in breaking out of habits or making assumptions that it's all cool when it's actually maybe not all cool. And the rest of the time it's just composing and improvising. But I don't compose a lot, because then I have to play the songs and memorize them or whatever. And I just think, well, I won't be doing that anytime soon, very often. So I just sometimes play some old stuff and write new things for, sometimes really just for the event itself. Actually kind of a little bit like what Yuka was just saying, in a way that maybe the producer me says, I need a rocker right now. I need a rocker. We don't have a new one. We've been playing the same 2 rocker songs. Let's get a new rocker song. And then I write some new thing that maybe is fun to play. But every once in a while, they just happen accidentally when I'm just sitting around playing, because I don't know how to practice. So I just play. And then usually a riff comes along, or a chord progression or something, a sonic event that captivates me. And the next thing I know, I guess I'm working on a piece of music. But I don't sit down every day and write music, because it would be too much music, and I just don't see myself as a composer with a capital C, I suppose.
But I mean, you stand out as a guitarist because of your execution. I mean, amongst other things, but tone and all that stuff. But there must have been a period where you quote unquote knew how to practice. I mean,
not really, because I never really had a guitar teacher show me technique or anything. So I taught myself the notes on the guitar. I taught myself chords, and then other people taught me chords. That was one of the greatest things ever, was playing with musicians, which I still do to this day, who are better than me pretty much always. And then you just learn from that. You kind of have to step up every once in a while, pay attention, ask questions, and then, a whole bunch of new harmonic information just entered my brain, and I can grapple with that now, and that's, I guess, a kind of artistic growth. There are certain sounds that I find super captivating, so I just chase those when I'm improvising, not so much when I'm composing, because it's a little more nuts and bolts. I just I write down for songs what's in my head. I just figure it out on the guitar, and so I get a melody, and I think, okay, what's the next melody? So I just sing it to myself or sing it out loud, and then I just figure it out on the guitar and write it down. And then I have to learn my own tune at that point. But but that's how I do it, you know.
But I mean, like linguistically, musically, you span a lot of different like genre. You can go into a lot of different idioms and very effectively. You know, like I've heard tracks where you are speaking the language of a Wes Montgomery, and I've heard things where it's a Chet Atkins, and I've heard
This is like the blessing and the burden of my sort of polymath brain or something. It's also the instrument. You know, the instrument is extremely malleable, and I grew up as a rock and roll kid that heard Coltrane. Was really what happened, and Ravi Shankar actually. At age 10, that was actually the first big aha experience for me was when my elementary school teacher, Ms. Godlin, played a whole side of a Ravi Shankar live record in our classroom, and that was the beginning of my perception of music as something more than mere entertainment, I guess you could say. And then psychedelic rock, folk rock, blues, and then later the whole Miles Coltrane, and where that took me. And so I sort of live now in all those places at the same time, which is really bizarre, but it's not something I ever designed for myself. It just sort of happened. Like versatility was not my dream or goal at all. But I like working, I like playing, I like participating in music. So I just kind of try to do all these different things, which I guess one could regard with suspicion, or you can just see it as just like this really big playground.
Wow, that's very interesting about the transmission, you know, to an elementary school that of, you know, music's potential. I'm curious. I'd love to hear maybe if you could like any of those boom aha moments, musically or otherwise.
I'm not. I'm okay. My aha moment was that basically I grew up thinking one thing I shouldn't do with my life is to become a musician, because my piano teacher told me so.
My piano teacher quit me too.
Really?
Quit me, yeah.
Yeah.
That stuck with me.
Me too. Me too. I was fired. Basically, I was going to piano lessons without a serious motivation. I just kind of was doing it because it was something to do. But all the other students in basically she was teaching all the other kids who are like this typical super genius Asian virtuoso children who's, you know, who practice like 3 hours a day, and the mothers would be like sitting next to them and they would be practicing, so they're playing like back like this when they're like 6, and I'm going like do re mi fa mi, I can't play. And so my teacher was like, oh my god, like you shouldn't be here. So I sympathize with my teacher. She wasn't mean. I understand that I was in completely different league than her other students. And the lucky thing was that she had ear training teacher, and I did pretty well with ear training. I think playing was very difficult for me. My motor skill wasn't there. So I grew up thinking that I'll never become a musician. Anything I would do in my life is going to be not music. And then when I came to New York, things changed. I came in 80s, so this was pre-internet, and I didn't really understand much English. And I came in November. It was much colder than it is now. And I also came from pristine Tokyo, and New York was really dirty, and you know, wind would blow and all this like garbage would like fly. Newspapers, you know, garbage would make this like tornadoes, and it was really scary for me, and so I didn't go out much. After when I came, I was living with my boyfriend at the time, and he had this was the beginning of digital instruments for home. Like, so this was a beginning that they started to make sequencer, sampler, synthesizer in the price range that we can afford. Before it was like synclavia, you know, all these things were hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they started to make this thing. It was still, in today's standard, very expensive. Synthesizers were like a few $1,000s. I remember the first sampler was $4,000 and 1 megabyte, Akai S900. I remember this. Anyway, this was the thing that was happening, and so I kind of got involved in it, and because it would allow me to just make music at home and I didn't have to form a band, so I didn't have to like match anybody else's skill. And my aha moment came. So I started to write music because my boyfriend was doing so, and I kind of wanted to imitate him. So he would go to rehearsal with his bands, and when he was gone, I started to play with his instruments. And he had a cassette 4-track recorder and small Yamaha synthesizer. SY100? I can't remember the name. Something like that. Tiny. And so I thought maybe I'm going to write songs because I'm also bored and sitting at home, right? So I started to write a song, and I remember my first song was 15 seconds. I couldn't write any longer. It was kind of like this meandering phrase, and I kind of tried to harmonize it, and it didn't really do anything. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually weirdly harder than I thought. And then I thought maybe I should have a vision. So imagine Ryuichi Sakamoto, because he was huge at the time, and we were all obsessed with Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, this piano song that he wrote. It was big hit in Japan, and I was obsessed with this song. And I imagine some song like that, it should be music that's kind of like, feels Asian and feels nostalgic. And even though I don't know this song, it feels like something that I've heard a long time ago. I wanted to write music like that. And then it became, the ideas came, and I wrote string part, and I wrote glockenspiel part that plays a melody to this chord, and I wrote A section, and then I wrote B section. And when my boyfriend came home, I played it to him, like, you listen to the song that I wrote, and he was like, okay, play it. And then when I played it, his jaw dropped. So I was like, oh yes. And that was my aha moment, I guess.
Wow.
That was when I thought, oh, I want to do this. I still wasn't thinking professionally. I just thought that this is something I can do. It's different from playing piano. It's more of like literally like constructing something from music pieces that I hear. So I just had to put down all these music pieces. And then I remember my boyfriend said, music, you have to have C-section. Bridge is really important. You have to write bridge. So next day when he left, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this bridge? And then I was able to just write it. It just came. And now that I think about it, I did half-time thing. But I didn't know any rules at the time. I just heard it and did it. And so this became really fun. And we had this workstation, and we had tiny apartment, and we had tons of friends of people. The apartment was always filled with people coming in and out. But I would just wear headphones in this living room where it was filled with a lot of people. And I remember I would just forget that all these people are here and they're talking. I don't hear them. And I would just get really inside of it, and I would just write music for like an hour or two. And I take headphones out, and then I'm back in this place, like time slip. And that's how I was doing it at the beginning.
Wow. Somehow I felt that 80s energy when you were telling that story.
This was 80s.
Yeah. It was a thing, right? I mean, I was young. I was young in the 80s, but I would come into New York and I would see the graffiti, and I'd see Keith Haring's kind of murals and stuff like that. And early memories, nursery school. breakdancing for my mother's students, you know. First time I got over, yeah. So yeah, and there was like a lot of interesting people. I mean, I read somewhere that the Beastie Boys were kind of instrumental in your career, or you were instrumental in their career, or something. Like it was all part of the scene.
Well, amazing thing was so when we started Cibo Matto, we were very fortuitously, a lot of record company people came, and one of them was Tim Carr, with whom we ended up signing. And he had something, he was in Capitol Records before, and he was close to Beastie Boys. So immediately we were like, what? You're close to Beastie Boys? Like, we want to meet them. Oh, they're so cool. And so I think Mike D was the first one who came to our show. And then turned out Adam Yauk moved to, now it's Nolita area. And I think I had moved out from there already, like across the street from the building I used to live. He had this really like tiny, modest apartment that he was living, and he was really into snowboarding. So we started to hang out with him, and he was the one who played us Aguas de Mars by Antonio Carlos Jobim. So we were hanging out, and he was playing us the music that he likes, and we were listening to the music. And he said, I really, really love this song. I think this song is amazing. And he played us Aguas de Mars. And we were like, oh my God, what is this? This is really, really amazing. And then it came to us this wild idea that we should cover this song. And I brought it to Mark Ribot and said, I want to perform this song. We were doing a record release party at CBGB's, and I want to perform this song and also record it. I want to record it. So first he was playing it, and he was like, oh my God, this is an insane song. So Mark actually helped me. Mark basically entirely helped me dissect the chord.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. For me, and this chord signature that he wrote for me, from that I made a chart and figured out the keyboard part, and I decided that some parts should be done by choir. There's a part in C section that goes do, 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 do. On the album it's played by flute and orchestral. It's very orchestral, it's very cool. But I was friends with Sean already, and his friend Timo, and all these people who can sing. So I thought it would be cool to break down this part with singers. And then we all learned, and it was just so much fun to learn this beautiful song, because we are not just like learning how it works, but also we are learning something really profound about music when we learn this song. And it was incredible experience, and we performed it. I think Dave Douglas played trumpet, like this amazing band. New York in the 90s was fantastic, mainly because we all lived together. We all lived in this like small radius. John Wadesky, John was living with Chris Wood and Sim Kane of Henry Rollins Band, and they lived on 7th and A, and Miho lived on 7th between 1st and 2nd, and I lived on 7th between C and D. And in this small radius, there are like a bunch of musicians together, and we were always able to do all these like spontaneous shows. Let's do this improv show at so-and-so place, and you would do shows for like $3-5 because living was very cheap. This was when food in New York was pretty bad, but it was very cheap. And I remember all these prices because I'm an Asian. I remember like Mogador breakfast special was like $3, and you would get cappuccino and all these eggs and orange juice, and so we were always hanging out at these places. You go out to have breakfast, and all of your friend musicians are there. It's like dormitory, or I've never been to college, but I imagine that kind of situation was happening in New York, and that was really fortunate that I was able to live here around that time.
And it was like house parties you're playing, and what were the clubs that you guys were playing at?
We played at CB's Galleries most. So CB's Gallery had this amazing booking person, Liz Penta, who now is Nels's manager, coincidentally. And Liz is solely responsible for making Cibo Matto known to people. She was at our first show because she was on my guest list. And our first show, everybody in the audience was my friends, and nobody else was there. But there were 10 people, basically. But luckily, Liz was there, and Liz loved us. So Liz started to book us at CB's Gallery whenever they have a band that has a draw. She would book us to play before them, so a lot of people would discover us, and we became known very fast thanks to her. And I remember playing there when O.J. Simpson had the
white Bronco.
White Bronco. That was like right after our show. I remember we played the show and we came off the stage, and then we were all at the bar like watching this.
A slow speed chase.
Yeah.
I remember that chase. That was my hometown,
Yeah.
In fact, the murder happened not far from where I grew up, really. But I remember that. I was on tour with Mike Watt, I think, when that was happening.
Okay.
Yeah, and seeing it in a bar, and it was like a rock club bar on TV, and going, what?
That was the same year that like there was like, I think there's a whole bunch of things that were like equivalent. Like there's the Tanya Harding thing with the figure skaters. One of them broke the other's legs or something like that. There was like a bunch of just made for TV scandals all in the same year. And I remember I was in high school. The history teacher just decided to throw out teaching history, and she just would analyze these dramas.
Today?
Yeah. Like we knew we could just if she wanted to talk about, the Boston Tea Party or something, we'd be like, but what do you think really happened with, the O.J. Simpson glove? And she'd be like, okay, let me, all right. But,
Yikes.
So I'm curious. So that was the energy in the New York scene, and you were in LA at that time.
Yep.
And was it an equivalent kind of
no,
communal scene, or?
Well, there's no place like New York. I mean, certainly I didn't live near people. I could just walk to their places, and they were playing music. And no, it's nothing like that. You have to drive everywhere. But I was very busy. I was doing a lot of music and working full time in a record store and later bookstore. In various bands, and playing jazz type music. In the 80s, I played with a group called Quartet Music for 11 years, acoustic kind of chamber jazz, very influenced by like Ralph Towner in Oregon. That band, Miles Davis Quintet, was sort of our, with Herbie and Wayne, everybody was kind of our ultimate, they were our ultimate role models artistically, I suppose. But I was playing with Charlie Hayden's Liberation Music Orchestra, West Coast, playing nylon string guitar. That was about 4 years he did that. And I played with Julius Hemphill in the Jaw Band, his electric band, with my brother, and Stuart Liebig on bass, Juma Santos. Later, Bill Frisell also on guitar, and Alan Jaffe did a tour. I don't know where Alan is now, a very good guitar player. And I was in a band called Block, like a sort of funk rock band. We were around for like 8 years, mostly just playing in Southern California. And then I had eventually my own trio, but that was like 89. I started my own band for the first time. So I was busy. I was playing, but it's not like what Yuka's describing.
Right.
And I was certainly looking to New York since the 70s, musically, in a lot of ways. And had come here and played. I played at the old Knitting Factory with Mark Dresser and Mark Feldman. Mark Feldman had just moved to New York then. I was, I guess, subbing for Hank Roberts, the cellist, but Mark Dresser wanted me to play guitar with them, and I did that. It was really fun. So I was starting to get to know some people here. Elliot Sharp was always very welcoming, and I would basically stay quite often in his place that he used to live in. Now it's just his studio, which is right in the neighborhood that all of Yuka and her friends were in, it was on 7th between B and C. He still has his studio there, and that's where John Zorn lives, and all those people. There's only a handful left. At that time, they were all there.
Anthony Coleman, Butch Morris.
Zena Parkins was on Ludlow, so she was, Lower East Side. Anthony, he was downstairs from Elliot, so I could hear him practicing. Yeah, he was like very serious practicer. It's like, oh, he's working on stride piano this week, like, whoa, and nailing it, like pretty inspiring and a little daunting. But yeah, I was in Los Angeles until I met Yuka. That's when I started living here. And that was 16 years ago.
Yeah, and you're with your lovely wife, and I'm with my wife, Hungry, over here. But actually, like, the way things worked out is that briefly you and I connected in some sort of way because, last time we met, I was saying how my boss at the time, George Ween, had said, I want to lose $30,000 on a concert. He wanted to do it was called, what was the series called? It was New Music, because he felt he always got criticized for not supporting new music. And he insisted that new be put in quotes because it's been around for 40 years, or whatever. So, and then I was just starting to work for him, and I really didn't know much about new music, but Nate Chinen, that was writing his autobiography, or writing with him his autobiography, and he knew more, and he suggested your project with Greg Bendian to open up for Sun Ra Orchestra.
Yeah,
and you remember the year.
Oh,
right?
God, no, I don't think I
really?
remember the year.
I thought you were okay. Well,
2003,
something
maybe?
like that. Yeah, Pace University.
I'm really bad with the early aughts.
Oh.
But it might have been 2000. I remember the gig extremely well, but I don't remember the year all that well. It was a while ago.
Yeah, but that was just wild. I hadn't really seen anyone really so daring as to approach that period of Coltrane.
Well, it was,
it wasn't Coltrane. It was Ferris.
It's Coltrane.
Oh,
you
yeah,
could say daring,
space.
but you could also say foolhardy.
Yeah,
but that actually turned out to be pretty fun. It was something we took really seriously, so we didn't want it to seem irreverent or casual, I guess. We really studied the recordings, and of course knew Coltrane's music, to some extent. Like, I don't know how, I still can't play Giant Steps well, but anyway, we were listening, so we endeavored to do our version of it. And wow, that was a really crazy evening because Charlie Ellerby came into our dressing room and was playing guitar with the orchestra that night. And he was a wild character, like really fun and intense guy. And I remember him being really unhappy with the monitor mix and going up, putting his guitar down finally and stomping up to the front of house guy, because the front house guy was also doing monitors from him way up there in that auditorium. And I remember Greg Bendian's father laughing hysterically. He thought this was so entertaining and funny. Watching Charlie freak out on stage, like pointing at them. Yeah,
he was making the kill thing.
And apparently it kept going up instead of down, and so that's when he finally put his guitar down. And he was wearing just a tank top and nylon running shorts, and a hat, a cap that has those things in the back so your neck doesn't get sunburned. And that was his outfit. Amazing, just incredible. What a wild man. Anyway, he liked our set.
Yeah.
So that meant a lot.
Yeah, he seemed to really like it. as you mentioned. And, you know, and then speaking of the only other guitarist I've seen take on Coltrane is McLaughlin has that amazing Coltrane album with Joey DeFrancesco.
Yeah, and that's somebody who can really play that stuff. Well, I actually feel that the Interstellar Space does work with my understandings, and having kind of really mapped it out before we even started doing our version of it and really thought about it. But you know, McLaughlin can actually really negotiate the ins and outs of so-called Coltrane's modal period, which is not modal; it's actually completely chromatic. You know, it's about these kinds of substitutions, and I don't think I have the physical agility that I had back then. Now at my age, but McLaughlin still has it. So, yeah. He told his hands he loved them and he healed his hands from arthritis, like some sort of acute arthritis, and now he's just shredding at age 83 or something. It's just unbelievable. The guy's amazing.
Yeah, it bears repeating what you just said. So he had to retire. He
did that tour with Jimmy Herring where he opened and playing Mahavishnu Orchestra material for the first time in years, and announced that this would be his last American tour, and that he would rarely perform anymore because he had arthritis in both his hands. And my friend Joel Harrison told me that he told his hands at some point after that, every day, that he loved them and healed his hands with his love of his hands, basically. And if you know what Shakti were doing the last 3 years, you know that he's completely tearing it up. It's ridiculous. It's like mind-blowing.
Yeah. And, you know, last time we were chatting off mic, you told a story that also bears repeating about, you know, how you basically told him that you're so inspired that you weren't really sure.
Well, when I finally met him, which is only once. But, and then he I was basically saying I'd imitated him so much that I didn't really know where, like, he ended and I began, or some such a statement, and he put his lips up to my right ear and whispered, "We are all thieves," and which I just found so incredibly generous, because, well, he didn't have to be generous at all. I'm basically saying, like, I kind of try to imitate you, dude, you know, which is flattering in one way and irritating looked at another way, you know. He was very sweet. And then Remember Shakti played. This was in Brazil. They shredded, of course. They just were on fire. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, from your perspective, you could see it as generous because you don't know what he's going to say. But it's also like just a very profound statement from an artist about, you know, because it's a universal conflict, right? Like, have I taken too much? Is this mine? You know, what's mine? Is this, you know? And there's kind of an answer from a master, right?
Indeed. And you know, there are people who are very rigorous, and I am not one of those people. And they transcribe solos, for example, like incredibly visionary and maybe complicated jazz solos, for example. And I've just never done this. And that is, I guess, its own kind of very meticulous thievery, you know, but you're not necessarily going to go out and play those notes and say they're yours, you know, but that's another deep way of studying that I really haven't. I always thought I was just going to do my own thing, man, you know. And that's why I accidentally became versatile, because I just had to survive. But my first impulse was just to write my own music and just play, improvising / composing, like however I feel like it. Like that was going to be enough. And it was definitely not. I had to start playing other people's music and learn music, you know. So I did learn theory, but not the guitar. And so I'm kind of lazy on the guitar.
You're doing something right.
Well, you mentioned John McLaughlin, and I start thinking about somebody who's truly rigorous and talented, you know, in to an ridiculous degree. I don't know. Just, now I'm tripping.
Well, during that period, I guess in the 2000s when people started, I forgot what it's called, but the Napster era, where you could just steal things.
That.
Yeah. So I went all in, and because I just, like you worked in a record store to try to hear records, I'm sure. I worked in a radio station to try to hear. So I had a computer dedicated to just getting information as much as I could, and it was on at all times, and the battery started swelling up, like this, like it was just hot because I was like getting all this information. And two things one thing I got was 2 videos by McLaughlin. One was called How I Do It, which he has a chalkboard and he tells you how he does it.
Wow.
And it's completely methodical. It's like, okay, now do it all in 12 keys. And you're like, oh, damn it. It was like that. But he basically, his thing was just, it was so methodical. Make sure you can do all your fourths, you do all your thirds, all your tritones, this next. And then he had one, it was called, it was Rhythm. And he had a guest, and basically he deferred to them the whole time, and that was Selva Ganesh. And basically his whole thing on rhythm was whatever Selva Ganesh says, and they did the whole conical thing, and
wow.
He showed how all those Mahavishnu things are based on basically conical, that rhythmic structure. So anyway.
Well, that's when all those crazy duets in the Mahavishnu, the original band that would play, they break off into duos. And the McLaughlin Billy Cobham duo was always the one that would you'd really be waiting for, because they would also be able to play so many of these T-highs and these figures together that as a teenage listener, we were just thinking, like, how do they know what they're doing? How do they know?
Right.
Like these incredible improvised unison moments, and just and completing each other's sentences, if you will, or whatever. That kind of interplay, and also real chemistry. Now I can recognize some of those as coming from that tradition, but I didn't understand it. Even though I'd been listening to Indian music, I just didn't know technically about it. So the fact that somebody had applied these things to basically what we eventually called jazz fusion, it seemed kind of obvious in a way, but it also was very, very rigorously observed and studied. It wasn't just some random thing, which I think when I first heard it, it just seemed so magically weird and so sudden and random that it wasn't random at all, really. It was just actually very learned.
Right, yeah.
Very exciting. Those guys were playing on the edge of their technique. They weren't playing some cold exercise, some sort of technical. There's a lot of finger wiggling going on around then, you know what I mean? A lot of fast notes and whatnot. But just hearing those guys play at the edge of their technique was really electrifying. Not safe. They were not playing it safe.
Yeah.
I don't know why I talked about that.
Why
not?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, speaking of telling your fingers you love them, I mean, I guess it could come back to our intentions with food. And, there's something there, right? I mean, kind of like, I don't know, you're saying we're mostly an audio podcast, but you gave away that you're Asian, and I don't know how mothers express their loves. I don't know if there's a lot of hugging and kissing and telling you how smart you are, but I think food tends to be a way that some of that gets transmitted.
It's definitely what I think of my mother is food. And that was my favorite part of her. I mean, I guess that's kind of weird because it sounds like it excludes her other quality. But she, it talks so directly to all your senses, She spends time, and also I remember the time that she really didn't want to cook anymore because she discovered tennis, and she kind of became a tennis junkie, my mother. And she couldn't imagine cooking anymore for a while, But until then, I was able to experience this kind of like amazing art show every night, which was a very sensory event. You know, it's like dopamine and serotonin, and I don't know which one, but you know, it just stimulates all these things, and my body feels all this nutrition, and it's a real affair, food.
So speaking of all these magical elements, do you guys have a plan for this show on November 20th? Is it coming together, or is it going to be whatever happens? Or
Food wise, well, there's a little surprises, and we want it to be kind of like omakase dinner.
oh, it's a food thing too?
No, musically speaking.
Music. Oh, okay. Sorry, I
musically
should have known the metaphor.
Yeah, metaphorically speaking. You come and then we'll whip up food.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Well, I want to add something, which is that when you were talking about the immediate effect, the sensory effect that you got from your mother's cooking, that was like such a palpable kind of communication, but also obviously warm, nourishing, happy thing. When Yuka first encountered vegetables from the Star Root Farm, or I guess they say Route, I never know what to say, Star Route Farm, that was her reaction to their vegetables, was just getting them home and just thinking, whoa, these are really good. You know, these are next level organic vegetables. And that's where it all started, with getting to know these people and understanding what their work is all about. And so Yuka's been studying them and also been very inspired by them. And she's creating music inspired by this farm very directly, but also it stems from this very primal and basic thing we're talking about, which is just how incredible these vegetables are. And so, and what you get from that, you know, the simplest ways to prepare it are going to be profound, because that's how good they are. And so that's something maybe you could talk about a little bit, her inspiration from this.
I think it's because they're all the ex-artists. People at Star Root Farm were all artists first in some forms, musicians and painters, and so they have this desire to make this thing as good as possible before the commerce. You know, before also calculating how laborious this is. So they do all this technique. First of all, they do it from the soil. And this person, Walter Riesen, is a soil meister. And he designed his own soil to the point that soil companies have Walter's blend. And they start from soil, and they have all this soil that they put down, and then they do this kind of like biodynamic farming. So a lot of plants were planted together, which makes it really laborious, because you can't use any machine to weed, or, you know, they're always on the ground. Also, we're fighting with risk of ticks and all this difficult weather situation. Weather is not very friendly for farmers in the area we live. And we have like snow in August, and, you know, all this unpredictable weather. So they fight with this, but they really want it to be so good, not just because they want to sell it with a great price, but they also want to eat it. And they want it to be to bring this amazing, because, you know, I noticed the vegetable first at the market because they look a little bit smaller and they look a little bit dirtier, a little uneven, and it reminded me of this vegetable I saw in Firenze. Once I was in Firenze vegetable market, and they had these amazing vegetables that were not very like uniform shape, like they were wild shape. They feel more raw and wild. And I bought these vegetables in Firenze, and I cooked it for my mom. And this was the first time my mom who was very difficult to please in terms of food or everything else actually, said that you made really great food, Yuka. And I remember this moment. I was just kind of like, oh my God. But I knew it had a lot to do with the ingredient shopping, which I drove 2 hours to Firenze and bought this food. And so when I first saw starroot vegetable, it reminded me of this fruit. They look kind of like almost alive. They look like they would be moving because they have this like energy. And they're not the most kind of, like when you go to supermarket, the vegetables are really like all uniform and really clean.
Mass produced.
Yeah. It doesn't have that vibe. It's a little bit dirtier and uneven. And I knew that would be really great. So I bought them and took them home and cooked. And we were like, oh my God, I can't believe this is the same cabbage. I can't believe this is the same carrots. So I started to beeline whenever I go to farmer's market to starroot farm stand, and I started to talk to them. And now we have this really fantastic thing that, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, called Instagram. I'm also being facetious right now, but and they wrote to me on Instagram that I heard that you were asking about me, but I listened to your music when I was young, and I would love for you to come to the farm if you like, and we all cook, and we love to cook for you. And at that time, I just had a huge extraction on my tooth, and I wasn't able to eat for 2 weeks. I was able to eat like soft tofu and congee, but I wasn't really. So I was like, "Oh my God, I really want to eat your food, but I can't eat right now. But I really want to meet you." And I thought I was kind of going back and forth about going to visit. I don't normally like go to visit a farm in unknown area. But I decided that I should go. This is a destiny. And I went to visit them. And the rest is history. I really love them very much. And when I met Walter said, my favorite musician is Suzy Bara and Yoshimi from OIOO. And the two people I was playing with at the time. and also like really like niche but fantastic musician that he's picked. And so immediately I had a respect for him, and because of this food. And then I started to go there and I started to film them because I really loved the way they worked. And they would hire all these kids from everywhere and show them how to farm. And they really didn't want to sell this vegetable. They really wanted to give their vegetables away to people who are in need. And there's all these immigrants here who need like Puerto Rican people need certain kind of vegetables. Like Chinese people want Chinese vegetables. We Japanese want Japanese vegetables, and it's different from what's common here. So they started to grow these specific vegetables so they can give them away.
Wow.
Yeah, and I really love their heart, and they put so much. It's so hard on their body. It's actually hard for me to watch sometimes, because you can't say today I can't do it. You just have this like May to October, no break. They have to just keep working, and no matter what their body conditions are. So sometimes it really hurts me to watch them, to see how much they have to give. But and I love them very much, and I really hope that people will receive this message somehow in a, it can be very abstract way, but I think we want to communicate this energy through this concert.
Yeah.
And make some money for them, because they had a huge federal grant evaporate in the current climate, we could say. So they could use a little leg up financially. And so that's where this all, as a concert, came together.
Yeah.
It's around that idea.
Selfishly, for people, it's gonna be an amazing concert. So So even if you can do well by doing good or whatever.
Oh, it's
Do
not
good by
selfish.
doing
We'll be so happy if
Yeah.
anybody came and buy tickets. And it's really generous of Nels and John and Sean and Billy and Scott to perform this. And I think it's going to be an amazing night.
Yeah, it's gonna be magical. Well, thank you both. This was
Thank
super
you.
fun. I know you. As soon as you mentioned Florence, Mari got hungry. She can't even look at a map of Italy without getting hungry. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Nels Cline,
Thank
Yuka
you.
Honda.
This was
Mari
a pleasure.
Tanaka. This
Yeah.
was really fun. Thank you.
It's so nice to see you guys too.
I know, great excuse to get together.
Next time we have to eat. Let's
Indeed.
figure out